How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Michael Thervil, photojournalist and sociologist here at VEDA World News. Now, we have a guest today that you should know, and if you don't know, shame on you. Congressman Algreen.
How are you doing?
Pleasure, sir.
My honor to be in your company. Thank you.
Yes. So you're going to be campaigning for the new congressional 18th district. How's it looking?
Well, I am in campaign mode, and
Okay.
I'm doing a fine job. But for edification purposes, I've been campaigning since 2005 when I first took the office.
Really?
I campaign every day, and that way I don't have to campaign as hard with money as some other people might have to, which is the circumstance in this case. I have an opponent who has not been campaigning every day, but he has the blessings of $1.5 million from people that are in the crypto industry who want me out of office. And as a result of wanting me out of office, they're willing to spend an inordinate amount of money with him. He took a questionnaire and completed it, and after he completed the questionnaire, he got an A. I, on the other hand, got an F. It's the only F I'm proud of. In fact, I'm as proud of this F as I am of any A that I've ever received, because it shows people that I'm willing to take a stand. They've been trying to get me for years to join them, but I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to sell out the consumer. Consumers ought not be consumed by high dollar interests in Congress. I'm not for them. I am unbought, unbossed, unafraid, a liberated Democrat.
Okay, and I appreciate that's a very good response. Here's a question that I tend to ask all politicians, no matter what side of the aisle they're on. Does the Israeli lobby control you?
AIPAC does not. I don't know who you're talking about when you say Israeli lobby, so let me just hone in on that.
Please.
AIPAC does not control me.
Understood.
Let me tell you how you prove that. Here's how you prove it. There was genocide committed in Gaza. Most people running for office cannot say that.
This is true.
Those words cannot come out of their mouths. Their tongues are not designed to accommodate that. The DNA is not within them to do that. Gaza is a disgrace, not only for Israel, but also for the United States of America, because our fingerprints are all over those bombs that killed those tens of thousands of babies. Now, Hamas should not have done what they did. I will not condone what they did.
Okay.
But by the same token, Israel had no right to level Gaza. Israel had no right to kill tens of thousands of innocent men, women.
75,000 to date, to be exact.
Well, I've heard as much as 80, to be quite honest.
I can honestly believe that.
Yeah. So no right to do it. And I am not ashamed to say there was collective punishment. Food was used as a weapon of war. There was ethnic cleansing. It was just horrific. And I cannot abide with it. I'm the guy who ran a full-page ad in the Houston Chronicle asking President Biden to recognize Palestine as a state. I'm the guy. I'm the guy who put that in many other newspapers. By the way, we had to pay for that so that people could understand where I stand. And I'm proud of where I stand. Now, not everybody enjoys where I am, and many of these people who don't, they give me threats that you can't imagine. In fact, before we leave today, I would hope that the person who's assisting me can pull up some of these threats just so that you can hear the threats that I get. I get $20,000 a month for my security. My life will never be the same. I can't eat anywhere. I have to eat in some place where I like Luby's, where I can say, give me that piece of meat, because I don't know who's working in the kitchen.
Understood.
And there are people who really are absolutely inalterable opposed to my position. But you know what? I'm proud of it because it's the righteous position.
I think that it was a great answer because it demonstrates that not only are you for the people of the congressional 18th district and just Houstons and Texans in general, but for the humanity of people around the world. So excellent response to that particular question, because I've run into politicians who honestly, like you stated, are tongue-tied when it comes to answering anything that has to do with Israel or Gaza or Palestine. Or
Well,
like that.
let me complete my answer.
Please.
That was phase one. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Let me give you phase two. In 1948, there was a place called Palestine. The United States of America came in and united with the then Israelis, and at that time decided that it would recognize Israel as a state. We did not recognize Palestine. The Palestinians, by the way, were not in support of what was being done. They didn't support that. The United States made a mistake at that time, because from that day to this, Palestine has been chipped away to the extent that if you look at a map in this country today, you see no place called Palestine. You can see Gaza, but that's not Palestine.
Correct.
That is a subset of what was Palestine, but you don't see anything called Palestine. I believe that the Palestinians should have sovereignty. They should have a nation. They should be a part of the United Nations. And I also know that in the Knesset, a piece of legislation was passed that said, in essence, from the river to the sea, there would be no Palestinian state.
I heard that.
But if you or I should say, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, we will be condemned. There's a double standard. The Israeli government can say that as it relates to Palestine, but I can't have that opinion, neither can you, without being severely criticized for saying what the Israeli government is actually implementing. The Palestinians haven't implemented any from the river to the sea plan that would eliminate Israel, but the Palestinians are suffering what the Israelis are doing to them, especially the government under Netanyahu, what they're doing to them, and they cannot use similar language. There's a double standard here, and we should not abide with it.
Final question before we go on break, and we're switching gears back down to the local level here on the Congressional 18th District. What are 3 things that you would fix if elected on day 1 for 18th Congressional District?
Well, there are things that I would fix in the 18th, but I'm going to tell you about something that I'd like to fix that's not exactly associated with the 18th, if I may. I would want to fix a system that allows Republican money to elect Democrats. And that's what we're seeing now. The paradigm has shifted. They couldn't get me by running somebody against me in the general election, a Republican. So they're now pumping their Republican dollars into a Democratic primary so that they can get a person who's not going to say that there was ethnic cleansing, who's not going to say there was collective punishment, who's not going to say that there was, without question, a circumstance that has to be condemned by the world.
Understood.
Yeah, so I just want to get that up. And by the way, here's the news article. This is the New York Times, February 12th. And you can see in here where there's $1.5 million that's going to be spent against me to try to defeat me. $1.5 million. And then if you look over here, it says here, A rating for one person, and this is green with an F. And I beg that you would read this at your leisure.
Okay. And I do appreciate that, Congressman. Yeah. I really do.
Yeah. Now, the things that I would fix right away in the 9th Congressional District. I'm not a superficial social analyst. I look beneath what appears to be the obvious. Because what appears to be the obvious is quite often a facade, a veneer, something that is there to cause you to assume that what lies beneath is not there.
Understood.
So here's what I would do. I would want us to understand that we still have racism as a problem. We've got to understand that Brown versus the Board of Education didn't end racism.
Okay.
Yeah, it did not. And that the racism that we are dealing with today is the reason that many black people cannot get homes, and many times when they get homes, they can't keep them because when they go in to get a loan, they are discriminated at the point the lending takes place. And this applies to people of color in the main. People of color can go into a bank, and when they apply for a loan, they're likely to have terms that are going to be more harsh. They're going to have less money given to them and get a higher interest rate than a person who is less qualified and Anglo. That is a fact. How do I know it's a fact? I was a chairperson of Oversight and Investigation for the Financial Services Full Committee, the subcommittee. I was the chairperson of that committee. And as the chairperson, we acquired empirical evidence. Discrimination in lending exists. This is why it's hard for black people to own property, to buy it, and then it's harder for them to keep it because they don't get the same shake when they go in. They get a shake down.
I believe that this is a well-known fact because I remember you speaking about this several times before. But the solution?
Here's the solution. Glad you asked. We would be, the Honorable Maxine Waters and I, under her leadership, we passed legislation called the Fair Lending for All Act.
Okay.
Here's what it does. It gives the consumer similar rights to that of the bank. Right now, if you defraud the bank, you can go to jail and you can be fined up to $1 million. Well, we have a piece of legislation that says if the bank defrauds you of a loan that you're entitled to, we make it a crime. Never been done before. We can eliminate invidious discrimination. The way is there, we but only have to have a will. Make it a crime to discriminate against the person who's getting the loan. Just as if the person who's getting the loan commits defrauds the bank, that's a crime. So we make it a crime. And then we make it such that you will be fined and that you can go to jail for doing this. So, and it passed the House, by the way. It didn't pass the Senate. But you didn't hear about it because that kind of thing does not make headlines. It does not, because the banks don't want it to. By the way, I don't take money from the banks. Okay? I am an independent, unbought, unbossed, unafraid, liberated Democrat, and that's why they walked me out of Congress. That's why Trump told them to go down to Texas, get 5 seats, and make sure Algreen is one of them. But you know what? And still I rise. And I'm going to rise on Election Day. They're going to see me sworn in again. And when I come back, I'm going to be loaded. I'm going to be ready for bear.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Congressman Algreen, Congressional District 18, Texas, Houston. Stand by.